Hello. Good evening. Welcome to Coffee Red.
Hi.
Hi guys. Welcome to Coffee Red. I'm DJ Mars Miranda. With me are Paco Ochoa, our only Filipino professional cyclist who's based out of Portugal. Coach Bayan from Endurance Lab, who's in Qatar. And we are joined from New York by the beautiful Monica Santa Maria. How are you, Mon?
Hi. Good.
Monica,
Okay dito. Bagong gising ako dito.
sakto
Just
yung
woke
coffee ride
up.
sa'yo dyan, no?
Aha.
Sakto yung coffee ride. So Monica's an international model. She flies in and out of Asia and the US and Italy dapat, 'di ba? Pero last time
Yeah.
talked to you, may Italy ka pa. And then she's also a specialized and Rafa ambassador. So legit siya, guys. Cyclist and model. How are you, Mon? How's New York? I see your rides and they look super awesome.
New York, well, New York has been the epicenter at one point. So, nung time na yon, we were also doing indoor riding lang, Zwift. But recently, we were able to actually ride out. Madalas kami, I'm able to, basta as long as your group is smaller than 10. So riding here actually is an advantage because it's the one of those activities that you can go out and be away from people still and still get your fitness in. So riding has been great here. Yeah.
Plus, it's easier for you to get around, no? So you don't have to take the subway na medyo enclosed. You don't have to take
So
like a cab, di ba?
yeah, but dati kasi I used to love road cycling as a sport. So I never used it to commute. Syempre, road bike lang yung meron ako, which is hindi mo basta-basta pwede ilak sa labas kasi baka may magnakaw ng saddle, But yeah, but lately, I started to use it as commuting as well. And it's been so good. It's kahit na nakakatamad pa minsan because you wanna get to, kunwari ako model, you have to get your castings fresh. But when you have to learn na, okay, pace should be slower. If you ride more chill, that means fresh ka naman pa din when you get to your destination. So yeah, it's also been so good for commuting too. And more people are on bikes here. It's so cool.
So, eto guys, si Monica, na-meet ko to ride eh. First time namin nakasama si Monica, nag-ride kami sa Nuvali, ganyan.
Yeah.
Um, ano siya, parang we were out, parang steady ride lang. Tapos nakita niya yung daan packet ng Revpal, yung packet ng Marcos. As in, when we passed it, sabi niya, saan papunta yan? Tapos sabi na, climb. Tara, parang game siya. Gusto niya yung mahirap. Gusto niya yung
Gusto ka niyang saktan.
akyatan.
Gusto ka lang niya
Gusto niya yung
saktan.
masakit na ride. Oo. Parang after that ride, lahat kayo parang okay siya, game. Parang hindi siya yung type na kailangan di ba may kasama ka na ibi-baby mo sa ride? Si Mon, hindi. Parang laban yan eh. So Mon, paano ka ba naumpisa sa cycling?
Oh my God, this is a good story. So, nung una, I really wanted to give up. But there was a time. Yes, kasi when I started, syempre everybody has the fitness na, and it's always so painful as a beginner. It's normal, alam mo yon. So, like for 3 months, I remember I tried to make excuses kasi may Thursday night ride in Malaysia yon. And then every time na Thursday, kinakabahan na ako. I'll be like, ay, kailangan ko mag-yoga eh. Kailangan ko mag-attend ng ganito or ganyang class. And then until I realized, kahit anong excuse ko, I'll still have to face my fear of like being the slowest one every single time if I don't keep training or showing up. I will always be the slowest one. So what I decided was I just kept showing up hanggang sa, uy, di na ako nasa likod ah. Tapos, uy, pabilis ako ng pabilis ah. Yeah. So it really felt good. But the main lesson I learned from cycling, which is this is me as a non-pro, was climbing a mountain sa Malaysia. I remember I was climbing, tapos it came to a point where my legs, kahit na yung utak ko wants to pedal, di na kaya, nalaglag ako, I fell. And then my partner that time was like, Mon, balik ka sa bike, akyat ka ulit. How will we get home? Sabi ko, hindi ko na nga kaya. Hindi na nga gumagalaw yung legs ko. Sabi ko sa kanya. Tapos sabi niya, harden the F up, get back on your bike and go. Sabi ko, hindi na nga gumagalaw yung legs ko. Kasi nagsisigawan kami sa mountain. So, tapos hanggang sa I said, maybe it's not meant for me. Sumisigaw ako sa mountain. After 5 minutes of just sitting there and arguing, and naka-rest na yung legs ko, pag akit ko sa bike, kaya pa na ulit.
Yung pala, parang at least nakikita tayo sobrang consistent. As in, I used to message you when I'd see your photos when you were in Malaysia. Parang every day, di ba? Consistency talaga eh. Di ba, coach?
Yeah.
Parang,
Yes, definitely important yung consistency. Lalo na, for example, you guys have work. Okay, 1 hour per day, 45 minutes session per day adds a lot, especially if you do it consecutively.
and then si Monica, bundok talaga inaakit niyan araw-araw, no?
Sa Malaysia, oo. In Malaysia, it has such beautiful mountains. I don't know if, Paco, if you've met any like Malaysian racers or
Wala pa akong nami-meet na Malaysian racers.
Wala
Pero alam ko
pa.
meron silang malakas na team. Actually, hindi ko alam kung taga-Malaysia sila, pero mukhang Malaysians. Yung
Ako ay competed with the Malaysia.
Terengganu TSG. Alam ko it's a strong team from Malaysia. I haven't competed with them still, pero I'm sure yung team nila is well-rounded to achieve yung mga races dito sa Europe. Pero no, I haven't met any Malaysian racers
Meron
yet.
na ako.
Si Son
Yeah,
meron
sa
ako namin. Yeah. I rode in Thailand in one of my first and last international stage races, and back in 2008 pa yun, matagal na. So, yung nakasama ko sa breakaway was Malaysian, tall guy, good climber. Yeah, one of my best races yun. And yung team nila was one of the team to beat, yung Malaysian team na yun. And of course, Singaporean was represented and a lot of Thailand teams. No? But yes, solid yung rides nila.
Maganda kasi yung relationship nila with Australia. I think meron silang base na moving back and forth from Australia, racing in small criteriums, racing in small stage races in Australia. And syempre yung level is a lot different if compared lang sa Asian races. So I think magandang malalakas yung mga Malaysians for sure.
Yeah, because in Malaysia, the cycling as a sport is really like recognized by the government.
Mm-hmm.
May mga endorsement yung mga cyclists. They're really like looked at as icons. And I really wish that for the Philippines. Iniisip ko, kaya ng Pilipinas to Malaysian, I've met international riders and they're like, ang lalakas ng Pilipino din. Alam mo yun? But for us, mga riders in the Philippines who are non-pro, parang I really wish na mas celebrated yung cycling sa Pilipinas. Which I understand our roads are not as, alam mo yun, there's only certain parts in Manila na malalayo that's good for cycling but not really in the middle of the city. And hopefully, maybe COVID gives us the opportunity to ride, like for more cyclists to ride maybe EDSA, na magkaroon ng like safer bike lanes. I feel like Philippines has such a good chance for cycling to, be more popular in that sense. But that's what I wish for the Philippines talaga. I don't know.
Pero Mon, like I see your photos in Malaysia. Parang aside from the professional scene, like cycling as a sport, I see the community that you ride with. Parang solid eh. Kasi sometimes I see your group rides, parang 20, 40, 50 kayo every, di ba? Parang ang saya nung cycling community sa inyo eh, di ba?
Yes. I think with the cycling community in Malaysia, what I think the key there is na there's always like beginner-friendly rides. There's always rides na there's a sweeper who will take care of anybody who wants to start. And those that, yung mga na-addict to cycling basically are so keen to help the beginners kasi they know what it's like also to start riding. So parang from there, the comfort in that just makes the community grow and grow. So that's really, really cool. And there are people who are in the community who are willing to lead rides kasi din. So there are like people who say like, okay, I don't know if you guys know Festive 500, the
Mhm.
community 500 kilometers every Christmas New Year time. Yun,
Yes.
like in
Yes,
Malaysia,
yes.
people really like plan rides to lead and then put it out there so people all we have to do is like show up together. Alam mo yun, so there's this initiative of leading community rides too and making it
Simon,
fun.
explain natin for those people watching. Syempre, a lot of the people watching are also beginners. They want to get started into the group rides. So paano ba yung format nung ride nyo? Yung group ride. So you have a ride leader and
And the
then kanina sa
sweeper.
ayun. So ano yung
Yeah.
role ng ride leader tsaka ng sweeper? Para lang alam nila.
Oh, there's okay. I'll tell you something about ride leader. But so basically, no, kasi okay. Dami kong gustong sabihin.
Go! Kwentuhan lang tayo dito.
Dal. With the so whenever you join group rides, mga beginners, there's usually like a ride leader who controls the pace, who navigates and makes sure that everybody's at a good pace riding the correct route, and also like takes care of you. Let's say sometimes nutrition or mga tools to change flats, for example, they're mostly the responsible ones, together with a sweeper, who's the person naman sa likod who makes sure everybody's like in the group, to make sure na you are aware of anybody who gets dropped from the group para everybody feels safe together as a group ride. Yon. And then I have another story kasi
Go,
Rafa,
Mon.
yeah,
Ayan.
Rafa kasi asked me to be a group leader, a ride leader at one ride, my first time. Eh, kinabahan ako kasi I'm not the fastest rider. For me, there's always somebody obviously faster than me. So I never felt adequate to be a ride leader. Kinakabahan ako. But the one thing I learned about ride leader is it's not necessarily that you're the fastest. It's as long as you are willing to be the one to take care of your group. You have compassion for all of the people behind you to make sure that they are able to ride efficiently. Like in fact, if you're not the fastest, if you promised a pace for your group, you have to be able to be strong enough to make sure na you're be able to tell off na people who are faster, say, okay, let's regroup sa taas. It's not necessarily you're the fastest. So that's where I gain confidence. Oh, okay, I can be a ride leader. Yeah.
Mon, if you look at our screen, the screen that we're looking at, sa right side may comments. Click mo yan so you can read all the comments. May mga nagko-comment na yan. Sila Coach Al.
Really? Oh
Oh,
my God, di ko makita. Wala
hindi,
akong
click na lang
ganon. Ayun.
natin. Ayan.
Oh my gosh, I can see hi, Coach Al. Can I say
Ayan,
hi to
nakikita mo sa
Kazar?
side.
Yeah, I can see
Yeah.
Kazar and Aris. So they are my friends dito sa New York who are Pinoy. They're my Pinoy family here who are tuned in. Sabi ko, tune in. Also, they also watch this show before you asked me about it. It's so cool.
Oh,
They
cool.
Zwift at 8 a.m. in the morning and just listen and tune into this show. Here in New York, mga Pinoy.
At least eksakto talaga sa coffee, no? Ayan, ang dami na sila Coach Raul Floresca, sila
Mon,
Coach Ay, ayan.
Yes, yes.
nakasama ko yan si Kazar. Yung best friend ko sa bike was a sprinter. Teammate sila. So, Christian, I don't know if he's watching. For sure, kailangan lang kilala ni Kazar yan. So, nakakasama ko si Kazar when I was still a junior. And yun, dalawang top sprinters sila back then sa executive
Wow.
series sa Pinas. Yeah.
Wow, what an honor, Kazar. he's now he's now a manager at a bike shop dito sa New York. And he's one of those na he would lead rides with us and you can really feel safe kasi he really takes care of the group pag nandyan
Yeah, he's
siya.
very experienced. Very experienced.
So ano pang
Yeah.
Mon, pag group ride, so you have your ride leader, you have your sweeper. Ano yung riding etiquette dyan? Yung, well, what you got used to in Malaysia. So since most of your rides were organized. So if you're someone who's joining an organized ride, ano yung riding etiquette? So what do you have to know when you're joining a group ride?
Well, mainly, I think the main thing that people would say sa etiquette is sana like the same road bike Kasi at the end of the day, of course, we want to be inclusive of all cyclists. That becomes like an argument, like, oh, hindi naman kayo inclusive. What snobs, porket ni road bike, hindi kami pwede sumama. But at the end of the day, it's also really for safety. Like, for example, some people will turn up to a ride with TT bars. Na sometimes, we'll just make sure na it's safer, people are more aware. Or like fixed gear, it's not really like safe in a group ride for road cyclists kasi nagtututukan yon. So the first etiquette is sana people turn up with a road bike. That's first.
Ayan, ito pa isang, I guess, tips for people who are the beginners who are planning to join like organized rides. Ito may magandang tip si Eduardo
I wanna
Lorenzo.
see.
Ayan, don't be late for a
Oo
group
nga.
ride. Number
Oo nga
one,
naman.
'di ba? Ano pang mga tips masasabi nyo guys for joining a group ride? Respect your group leader, 'di ba? Follow the pace he's setting.
Follow
Tama ba?
the rules of the road. Still, even in the group ride, say. Okay. Hi, Coach Al.
Ayan, Coach Al. Miss na daw tayo ni Coach Al.
Hi, Coach
And si
Al.
Ivan. So,
I think also to pass down the signal of the ride leader if like they're pointing to an obstruction or like turning right, left, to make sure you pass it down para makita ng mga tao sa likod.
Ayun,
Sometimes
tuturo.
beginners forget just because you're like so focused on trying to survive. But you have to make sure you also take care of the people in the back. Yeah, may times na I did that wrongly before too. Ano pa?
Ayan, yung tuturo niya pag may lubak, pag may mga ano sa road. Ayan, group ride etiquette tip, wag magpapabudol. I guess ang daming nabudol na
Wait,
dito
anong
eh.
budol? Hindi ko actually alam. Anong budol?
Ayan coach, pa-explain ang scientific explanation ng budol.
may
What is the
scientific
scientific-
explanation ba ang budol?
Budol.
Parang ano ka, parang nalin lang, naloko. Yan.
Naloko, sabi,
Huwag magpaloko.
sabi easy ride pero hindi pala or walang
I feel
ahon.
like I feel like in general you just expect to maloko. Kasi all cyclists will say, oh, madali lang yan. Tapos biglang hindi ako makahinga sa ride. Kala ko ba madali?
Ito rin, another tip from Sir Raul Floresca. Ano to? Bring your own spares and tools and share with those who forgot theirs. So, look out for each other in terms of like the tools, helping each other out when something happens na may mechanical, ganyan. Ayan. Sa pa, huwag maniniwala sa easy ride lang. Mon,
Totoo
ikaw,
yan. Totoo yan.
pag nagsasabi ka
Lalo na
easy
kapag
ride,
sikap. Lalo na kapag
Oo.
sikap, Ivan ang nagsabi. Based on
Wala.
experience yan. Lalo na kapag si Paco nagsabi ng easy ride kasi yung zone 2 niya,
Oh my God.
zone 4 natin.
walang easy
Actually,
ride.
Baka
Hard
naman
effort
di naman,
yun.
yeah, baka hindi naman tayo niloloko.
Easy for him. Easy for him.
And actually dito, yung isa kong natutunan
Hindi niya
sa
sinasadya.
yung isa kong natutunan sa culture ng mga pro cyclists dito. Syempre, yung network ng mga pro cyclists sa Portugal. Sobrang medyo close-knit. So kahit saan ka pumunta, may makaka-text ka na ka-training mo. So pero kapag sinabi nila talagang easy ride, doon lang ako talagang naniniwala na easy ride kasi ibig sabihin talagang bumanat sila day before or nagte-taper sila or whatever. So pag sinabi nilang 1 hour easy, talagang easy lang 'yon, as in coffee ride, yung totoong coffee ride na hindi mo kailangan
Pasyal.
hindi mo kailangan mag-mind game sa isip mo. Kailan kaya bibigyan yung rides? Sa atin
Totoo
kasi
yan, totoo yan pa ako.
pag nag-warm up na, nagkakadalahan na, parang ano nangyayari na? Parang sabi mo, lumagpas na tayo dun sa kapihan na sabi mo, tigilan na.
Oo. Hindi, ito si Monica minsan, ride lang, easy ride. Uuwi kayo hapon na eh. Di ba? sila Monica hapon na.
Si
Sasabihin,
Coach Al.
ayan sila ni Coach
nakasama
Al.
ko.
Ano daw, steady lang. Next thing you know, hapon na. Nasa labas pa rin, nag-ride pa rin.
It's so true. Next thing
Natawa ako kay Coach
So, ito,
Raul.
Tita Monica. Tita Monica, someone came by to say hi.
Hi! Kamusta? Oh my goodness.
And speaking of,
Hello.
si, ayan, si Adriana, guys. Ito kasi,
Hello.
si Monica kasi nakasama namin sa gym yan. Siya nag-introduce sa amin sa functional fitness. So, sorry,
Ah.
maiba ko lang So, ano bang effect nun sa'yo, Mon? Kasi, di ba, cross-training, you do your yoga, you do cycling, you do, I see you di ba, nag-wall climbing ka ngayon.
Nagbo-bouldering ako dito. Oh, yeah.
Bouldering, ganyan.
Yeah.
So, anong effect ng cross-training naman sa'yo? Sorry. Iba ko lang kasi naalala ko nag-gym ka eh. Nag-gym
Yeah,
tayo.
well, honestly for me, even if working out is functional, sa akin kasi aesthetic. Kasi syempre I try to balance din modeling dito sa New York with cycling. Basically
Oo.
cycling is everything else I do, and then modeling. With me cycling aesthetically, nawawala din yung like just the upper body part of things. I have to also like work it out in a sense para mas may form na hindi nakukuha ng cycling. So for me, it's just aesthetic reasons. Although
Hindi.
I believe na fitness na especially what we do sa gym is more functional talaga in strength. Yeah.
Wait, sorry.
But I do get stronger sa bike for sure.
Lakas mo kaya?
Nakakalakas din yun.
Nakakalakas, di ba?
Yeah.
Wait,
So,
ito
di ba,
magaling.
ikaw din.
Laking tulong nga
Na-experience
siya.
mo.
Oo naman. Wait, sorry, bago tayo. Balik tayo. Magandang question ni Sir Raul ulit eh. Since we were talking about group rides earlier. Kasi like, you were riding in Malaysia, you ride in New York, here in the Philippines. Ano daw yan? How do your group rides in the other countries differ from group rides in the Philippines?
Well, honestly, it doesn't differ that much. Like there are always like ride leaders, there's sweepers. Everybody would have signals for which would differ just a little bit. So in that sense, it's not different, but I think you have to observe what kind of signals they use. Kasi you will be able to determine naman kung ano ibig sabihin nila eh. But they just do it maybe in a different way when they point left or right. So I think in the beginning of every group ride, you need to be in the back to observe muna what's the behavior of the, kasi iba-iba din yung personalities, I think. I don't know how to put it in words, but iba-iba yung personalities ng mga group ride. But definitely with the signals, pwede din maiba. But it's not that confusing. All you have to do is observe muna. Yeah.
Pero saan mas organized? Sa Malaysia, sa New York, dito? Saan mas on time nagsa-start? Minsan kasi dito pag 6 a.m. start, alas 7 na, nagkukwentuhan pa kayo sa parking eh. Alam mo yun? Di ba?
I think Malaysia, kasi some of the rides, because it's just within a small, how do I explain it? Yung coffee ride kasi namin doon, it's in a small area na 1 hour lang, pero punchy hills. So in that small area, we say immediately kasi people have to go to work. 6:30 roll, pagdating mo doon 6:31, nakaalis na yung group.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and
Solid.
in that sense, they don't feel, it's not, paano ba explain? Walang pakialamanan if they roll first kasi the area is so small, you can still continue to do the ride. It's not just as fun kasi wala kang kasama. So,
syempre.
once na the group teaches that to the people who join, walang malilay talaga. Or else maiiwan. Ganon, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sa New York, paano kayo? Anong trip naman dyan? I see you do.
Sa New York naman, they will be like, okay, 9 o'clock yung ride. Pero yung totoo no, 9 o'clock, you still have time to listen to, sometimes may briefing pa yan, sometimes to like just talk to the leader talks muna, or you grab the coffee, everybody just like gets ready, 9:30 pa yung roll talaga.
Okay.
Yun yung naman, strategy nila dito.
Pero sa Malaysia, road kayo, diba? You do your climbs, you do...
Yeah.
Parang I see ang ganda ng route nila sa Malaysia, guys. Parang may tree cover. Kala mo nga, wala sa Asia eh. Parang medyo foggy pa. Tapos...
Yung mga mountains doon din.
Tapos sabi niya, parang bikeable siya from her house. Lalabas lang siya, ayun na, diba? Pero sa New York, nakita nag-gravel dyan. May gravel, may...
Favorite
Ad,
ko yun.
oh, so ano yung difference niya ngayon? Like, gravel riding and basta riding na hindi sa road. So I see you doing it na now.
Well, like, what is the difference in a group ride? You
Hindi, hindi.
mean?
Like, yung mga gravel ride,
Right.
yung mga,
Dito.
oh, dyan.
Well, paano ba explain? I guess dito kasi sa New York, there's more variety to the world of cycling. Like, they have cyclocross, they have gravel bikes, they have so many different kind of like cycling that is identifiable. So in that sense, nagkaka-culture na people have like actual gravel roads that they how do you say it? They plan na because we're aware of gravel riding, they will find gravel roads na actually for routed for a group ride, or if it's cyclocross, whenever it's season, we're able to ride the course before the race starts. So because of
Wow.
that culture na may iba-ibang acknowledged na cycling disciplines, it also promotes the finding of these gravel roads in which we find out about and which we can ride to. I ride the Roubaix, so although it's definitely rideable for most road bikes, pero some of the people who are avid cyclists are sensitive to their bikes riding gravel because it can be gnarly sometimes. But for me, I just really enjoy it and just go for it. And kung di kaya, edi just push the parts that you can't. But most of the time kaya, sobrang kaya naman. But for those who are sensitive, syempre, they don't really want to like push the gnarlier parts of it. But that's why in New York there's a lot of like more fun gravel riding because there is an acknowledgement that there's that discipline.
So anong difference niya?
Dito,
Sorry, kasi dito I've never done a gravel ride kasi parang wala naman masyado, 'di ba? It's not that big in the Philippines. How different is it from regular road biking?
I guess it's really, really different because it's more like sandy and rocky. So you can't really go as fast. You have to pick your lines. You It's not the same like peloton or drafting because it's really like just picking your lines. At least for like because we're not going fast, no, it's not as fast. So in that sense, it's really fun to be more. Yeah, it's just more technical. It's a different kind of approach that you get to do. There's a lot of like times when you feel like close call na biglang masiskid ka sa sana, parang whoa, I survived, may mga ganong exciting moments. Yung mga nag-wash out ka. So it's really different. And in New York kasi there's a lot of like paths like that are mostly for mga off-road paths that are mostly for, I don't know, for hiking ba, or like for people who want to, yeah, it's who want to walk closer to the water in New York, pero it's not like reachable by roads for cars. So they create these like paths that are like rocky and sandy, and for pedestrians. So we get to ride that. Yeah. So
I think we
Sarap.
it's so fun. Do we have that in
meron
the Philippines?
tayong
Not
related
much.
question.
Go.
Kapatid ko kasi to, so
Hello, kapatid.
hindi, taga New York kasi siya. So she just started riding, and ito yung question niya. What are the best places to ride in New York City for beginners? And our beginners welcome to join Rafa Group Rides.
Yes. But honestly, si Sophia.
Yes.
Hi, Sophia. But honestly, wala pang group rides dito. Na actually, puro Zwift yung mga official group rides. But beginner people who want to ride, so Central Park. Kasi Central Park can be scalable to make it easier muna, or because it has like this Harlem Hill in which you can push harder or like go faster around the loop kahit na flat yung most of the parts. I really feel like Central Park is good training, especially for a beginner who needs a controlled environment, that it's not too crazy to commute out or cross George Washington Bridge. Parang Central Park is good, especially if let's say you want to join if she wants to join me, Central Park is a nice controlled environment. Let's say kung nagkawatak-watak, loop lang naman yun eh. You can,
Mhm.
okay, well, let's regroup in like what? In like 5 minutes, magkaka-regroup then. So Central Park is really the best for training. If you are disciplined enough to really put time into let's say training like coach, diba? Like training 1 hour, just a few loops, maybe even 3 times a week is a good start. As long as you
Yes,
show up
yes.
talaga. I don't know how often a week is a good start, but
Yep,
yeah.
definitely. I think MWF or 3 times a week to
Mhm.
four would be beneficial for starters. Honestly, when you said Central Park, I was there a couple of years ago. Without a bike. Without a bike, and I was with
Uh,
my aunt. I stayed there for like 3 days, and na sobrang laki ng Central Park, di namin nalibot, but kinda miss it. I think late November na yun, so Christmas season. So it was really nice.
Mhm.
And one thing I like about when I read about, for example, books on cycling, like for example, Armstrong era, okay, Hincapi was a big proponent of New York cycling. I think he was discovered or have been racing there sa Central Park. So I don't know. It's just one of my questions nga na how's the racing back then before this global thing happened. So, ewan ko, nakakanood ka rin ba ng races dyan sa New York, sa
Hindi nga,
Central Park?
no, hindi ko naabutan na yung pag-watch ng races, but I know a few friends who do watch it. And it's such a beautiful culture, honestly. It's, there's the easier categories to the harder ones. And so anybody could actually try to race if they wanted to. There's like a lot of teams that train together. Just
Mhm.
for me, I never really like thought that I would do racing just because just in case the crashes happen. For me, the visa that I have here is modeling. Hindi ko pwede talaga i-risk. And maybe for me, it's not really a good risk for the fun of it. But
Mhm.
dito natutuwa ako kasi there's really this racing culture. Kazar, who is here in the group chat, used to race then dito. There's so many crit races and
Mhm.
yeah, basta malaki
Mhm.
talaga yung culture dito. It's really so beautiful. Pero because what I remember is because di ba seasonal dito, some people they
Mhm.
have to wake up so early, syempre kasi before it gets traffic or people start to populate Central Park, races have to start really early in the morning.
Mhm. Mhm.
Sometimes it's so cold and it's so cold. And you have to
Di-
wake up at like 4 or 5 in the morning
Yeah.
to because
Yeah.
I wanted to watch Sana, my friend. It's so early and it's so cold and you have to sit out there. Sabi ko, how do they do it? It's just the sacrifice is just so different.
Wait,
Grabe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Comes with the sport, let's say.
oo. Tsaka buti pa dyan, at least malamig dito.
Dito,
Mainit.
ano pa
It's
dito?
either mainit or
Desierto.
mainit na mainit eh, di ba?
Yeah, that's true. Pero if you did it early in the morning, pwede mo maabutan ng
Pwede.
hindi masyado. Doon
Yeah.
kasi it's like your bones are like freezing. And then I guess if for them, then they have to immediately jump into a race agad. I don't know.
Diretso
I don't
na,
know.
no?
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, it's an interesting culture and it's pretty cool. And I don't know again if there is something like this in the Philippines, like a broader access to racing for most people na madaming categories. Is it existent there in the
Meron
Philippines?
naman, may mga races naman na may categories. Pero probably not as often as probably where you guys
Mhm.
are. Pero there are
Yeah,
organized races naman
'cause it really
na,
looks good community, ano talaga siya, good community activity. Na a lot of people
oo.
have teams, ganon. It looks so cool. Yeah.
Wait, kanina you were talking about yung mga di ba? You were talking about the Rafa, yung question
Right.
kanina, di ba? Sige, so how does that work for the benefit of people watching? Since, Rafa's like it's a different business model on its own, di ba? Parang it's a unique thing eh. So how does it work? How does the RCC thing work? How does the community, how does it work when you join? Ganyan. Paano ba yan?
Well, for me, my experience talaga of Rafa is all of the group rides. That was my first contact with Rafa. That they have the initiative to always create community rides for you to join. Like every Wednesday, they had a coffee ride in Malaysia, or they will also create like meetups where, okay, if you are part of the cycling club, you get to sign up for this, for example, a Japan 3 day excursion where people can sign up and you can meet all the other RCC members together in a 3 day adventure. Parang ganon. So for me, Rafa, even if you don't sign up, you can go if there's clubhouses or if you are aware of any coordinator who lives in the in the country. They usually announce their rides naman eh. So you just have to ask. It's basically a very community based thing where you have to ask about it or find or hindi ko alam, is in the Philippines there used to be a Rafa coordinator. I don't know about
Ito,
now.
si
Are
Sir
you
Lito
aware?
Vicencio, exactly. Sir Lito, cheers
Yeah,
from
dito.
RCC Manila.
Yay!
Ayan.
Hi!
Hello, Sir
Yeah.
Lito.
Okay, so everybody watching, there's Lito. So he's probably, yeah, I think so. You just have to get to know, uh, yeah, it's just community connecting. You get to know them, and then they will let you know, like, oh, next group ride, it's at this time. And also, it's interactive. Like, if you're part of the community, you can suggest, oh, tara, let's lead rides every Thursday. Maganda dito sa gabi. And then you can create a nice vibe in which people will keep showing up more and more every Thursday. Pero consistency talaga is what's needed to really build a group. And I think that's what Rafa was able to do in at least the cities that I've been with observing what Rafa does. That's what they do with mga consistent rides, and then suddenly the community grows, and then they'll figure out, okay, should we start building a clubhouse or hindi naman kailangan ganyan. So for me, yeah, it's just consistent group rides in which it just keeps growing. Yeah. So in New York, usually because there's a clubhouse, so madali lang pasok ka lang sa clubhouse, magtanong-tanong ka, what is the beginner friendly rides? Because they'll also indicate what's the average pace to know if kaya mo or hindi. You know, you have to also be responsible enough to join a pace that you know you can. You can't also just join a pace na it's faster than what you usually do kasi expected na they briefed you what the pace is, so if hindi mo kaya, edi iwan ka talaga. You know,
I
in the
guess wala ka na
so
excuse, no?
yeah, so in that sense, the rides are also organized in a sense na they also tell you the average pace, so you know where to put yourself in. So yun. But I again, in general, it's not applicable to the world kasi not everybody has a clubhouse, not everybody has a coordinator. So yeah.
Meron nga akong story. I have a friend who travels for work. So she goes around for business trips. And she was training for an Ironman. So syempre yung Ironman hindi naman gagalaw yung date, 'di ba? Yung event mo hindi gagalaw yung date. So she plotted out her trips, her meetings. Tapos nakita niya may mga clubhouse. So
Yeah,
nag
yeah.
So nag-member siya, she signed up for her RCC membership. So every time she went on a business trip, you can rent a bike. So that's how she trained for her Ironman.
Really? Through the
Sa,
bike
pinla-
rental of
sa
RCC?
bike rental ng RCC kasi wala siyang ibang choice. She didn't want to travel with her bike, which we'll talk about in a minute. So ginawa niya, yun, sign up siya sa mga, nag-member siya ng RCC kasi alam niya yung cities na pupuntahan niya may mga clubhouses, may mga rental. Ganun siya nag-train for her triathlon.
That is cool.
Di ba? Oh, anyway,
Yeah.
traveling with a bike. I've seen you in like the smallest hatch. Monica's like, how tall are you, Mon, again?
5'9.5". I say I'm 5'10".
Ayan, she's super tall. And I've seen a photo of her with her bike bag in the back seat of like a hatchback on her way to the airport. Diba? You remember that photo? I think you sent it to us or
I
because
don't, yeah.
every time she travels, she has her bike bag with her. So she'll go from Manila, tatakbo ng Malaysia, pupuntang New York. Minsan magma-Malaysia ka para lang sa 2-day event, dala mo yung bike bag mo. So, paki-explain.
Hindi ko alam. Addict lang
gusto na,
talaga ako.
gusto na, how hard, gano'n siya kahirap? Parang, Hindi
I don't
ba?
know. I guess kung adik ka, hindi mahirap talaga.
Pero
I don't know. It's like I cannot help it. I cannot imagine myself not going to a country without my bike. I really cannot. Na to be if I'm not prepared. Pero if I'm prepared na may na contact na ako in the country to borrow a bike from, then I won't bring my bike. Like sometimes Specialized is able to help me with that. But if not, kung wala, hindi wala. I really have to. I really need my bike. I really need to bring it with me. And if you really love what you're doing, it really is nothing. It's so easy for me to pack my bike up. Inside the bike box, you can fit na your jerseys, your helmet, your shoes are all inside that box. And in most international flights, included na naman yun sa weight ng baggage mo eh. So
ayan,
it's so
sige.
easy, yeah.
But I guess anuhin na natin yung tips on packing your bike for travel. Ano bang hacks natin diyan? So, may bike bag ka, ano pwede lagay sa bike bag na
Yun.
ano?
For me, that's my one and only hack is that you can put your jerseys, your shoes, and helmet. Pasok nyo malalahat doon sa loob ng bike bag.
Tapos
I don't know if there's more. Yeah.
pag may laundry ka, dun mo sa bike bag ilagay.
Pasok din. What I guess we all know this, but maybe some beginners don't. You cannot bring your CO2 cartridge. Don't bring it. It'll get confiscated in the airport.
Si Ivan has an experience with that.
Yan.
With this Ironmans. Yung kanyang bike box kasi, ewan ko kung comment ni Cap Ivan yun, but may side pocket, may pocket sa labas. So you can place your CO2. So one time, nangyari kasi nilagay niya sa loob, pinababa siya sa plane at pinatanggal sa kanya yon. Yeah.
Oh,
we were last year we did KOM Taiwan kasi. So kaming tatlo nung friend din namin si Mark Rivera. So we sabay-sabay kami sa flight and isa yun sa shinare niya sa aming tip. So if ever your bike bag has a CO2 parang pocket sa labas, you can place your CO2 doon. So kapag bawal, they can take it out. Hindi mo na kailangan baba. But yes, based on experience, bawal talaga nga ang CO2.
Yeah, just don't bring it. It's not worth it.
Adapter na lang, tapos bili ka na lang sa country.
Bili ka na lang doon, no?
Meron naman yan. Like if you're going to a cycling event or a cycling-friendly country, meron yun. Just don't bring
yan
it.
for sure.
Also, do you know, because most of the time, I experienced them asking me kasi nakapack na yung bike box ko. Sabi nila, naka-inflate ba yung tires mo? I have to open the whole thing and deflate it. Yeah, so I feel like I don't know if in general ganun talaga, but
kailangan talaga i-deflate.
Your tires.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Vincent Corpus. Cap?
Oh, Vincent said it, yes.
Ayan. And then, if you have, ako nangyari sa akin last time I traveled with my bike, naka-disc brakes ako. So you take your wheels off, put that the wedge for your disc brakes, kasi soft lang yung bag ko eh. So napindot yung brakes. So nag-lock na yung brakes ko. So I had to bleed it and take it to a bike shop like the day before I needed my bike. So yun, usually when you buy your group set or your bike, it comes with a wedge to put in between your brake the brake caliper. So so saksak nyo doon para kahit hindi sa bike bag, kahit kunyari sa kotse kayo or tatanggalin yung isang gulong, saksak nyo yung parang wedge na yun kasi malaking bagay siya.
Yeah. Also, I have this experience. I don't know if it will help anyone, and maybe it's a noob moment for me. I was trying to, because I was gonna race, how do you say it? Alam mo yung triathlon na ako lang sa bike. Whatever
relay.
you call that. Relay, yeah. I was gonna race a relay in Dumaguete. So we flew there just for that. And nagmamadali ako. And I was trying to like put my bike together. And they're like, oh, you need help. No, sabi ko, hindi na kailangan. Marunong ako. And then when I was, kasi you know, when you're rushing, you're just trying to do everything fast. I was putting my saddle in. And baka parang may nasa stock, ayaw niya pumasok. I was just forcing it in until yung kable pala ng DI2, it's under my seat post. Naiipit pala siya sa some butas. Naputol yung kable. Just because nagmamadali ako. Dahil because I was like forcing it. So, yeah. So for me, like, especially with building your bike, no matter what, kahit na nagmamadali ka or whatever, it's really your safety. of your bike and of yourself. So really, it's the one thing that you need to really make sure and take your time when you're like setting it up.
Yes.
Be
Ito,
calm. Yeah. I don't
ito
like.
si Sir Chino Roque, bago bike na to. Congratulations on your new bike.
Oh,
Saya
I know.
niyan.
Hi. Oh my
Oo,
God,
saya ng
sarap. Ang bilis mo niyan.
sarap ng
New
feeling
bike.
ng bagong bike, 'di ba? Parang lumalakas ka pag bago bike mo eh. Speaking of bikes, ano yung first bike mo, Mon?
Oh, my first bike. Oh, wait. Oh, there's somebody asking about the Rafa commercial. We'll get back to that.
Oh, go,
TJ
sige,
Gato.
sagutin mo na yung Rafa
Yon.
commercial.
How many
TJ
days was
Gato.
it? Yeah. Did you guys go around every day or and overnight in the wilderness? Well, it was amazing. It was my first experience doing like an actual like bike commercial. Um, Actually, it's not as hard as, well, it's hard and not hard because you don't really like ride the whole route, but they'll actually make you climb this like mountain, and you're supposed to, no, natural naman yon, but at one point I remember the girl that we were shooting with, one of, she was about to race Tour de France. So she was that strong. And they're like, "Oh, Monica, come forward. Can you ride beside her and off saddle kayo?" Sabi ko, "I cannot pedal anymore. Hindi ko kayang umabot dyan. Can you ask her to like fall back kasi hindi ko na talaga kaya." So it's such a fun challenge kasi, you have to like sort of like, you're enjoying, pero it's such a steep hill na hindi kayo magkaabot-abot as a group kasi iba-iba yung strength namin. And another experience was this section we had to do in Joshua Tree, where it's
Oh,
actually
wow.
getting so cold and it was a sandstorm was happening, but we had to get the shot. So we had to, parang may sports bra din yung yung collection. So we had to like show off the sports bra. Ang lamig-lamig. I think it was 8 degrees Celsius na sobrang lakas ng sandstorm like coming. It was like blowing us sideways, but we had to pretend like, wow, hot summer day. So it was so hard, but at the same time, it was easy because it was just section by section lang naman yung shoot. Hindi naman, they don't ask us to ride the actual whole 100 kilometers from Joshua Tree to this area. So it was such a fun experience. And yes, it was over 3 days, but it was proper, hotels and stuff. It was really fun. Yeah. Yeah.
Ayan,
Does that answer this question?
speaking of modeling, so syempre, kabuhayan mo, 'di ba? Kabuhayan mo yung that's your work.
Dito, yeah, yeah.
So how do you deal with anong beauty regimen? May special beauty regimen ka ba? How do you deal with your tan lines? Syempre, may photo shoot ka tapos 'di ba, high fashion ka tapos may tan line ka or kunyari may swimsuit or na campaign pero pagkita sa syempre
Malala.
may cycling tan line ka. So paano? Syempre
No,
for the
no,
girl.
guys. Of course, you guys know, no? Yung tan lines can get so bad, especially sa mga, for us riders na who just wants to ride all day na kahit di mabilis, you're in the sun, babad. So what I do is, last time I used to reverse tan. Meron akong like arm and leg warmers where I cover the darker parts of me na naka-expose yung mga lighter parts. Tapos nagtatan ako sa sun na ganon. But here in the States then, there's this tanning mousse. A lot of people just want to get tan just with like mousse or lotion. I just color the whiter parts of me with the mousse.
Pinapantay mo lang. Hindi kasi dito
Parang tint, skin tint siya.
syempre, of course, there are a lot of new, female cyclists din na, syempre, unang-una, takot umitim. Tapos, syempre, yung pollution, syempre, might cause pimples, skin irritation, and then so on. So, any tips for them? What do you use to wash your
Okay.
face? What do you use to, yun.
Okay, for me, one is bring wet wipes. Kasi like mid-ride, let's say lang na nai-irritate na yung mukha. Kasi some people have sensitive skin, nai-irritate, you have wet wipes. Another thing that's really important to me is sunblock. Kasi like for me, modeling, I really need to make sure I take care of my skin. Sunblock talaga on your face, especially, really like goes a long way. As long as you take care of like the sun exposure. And For me also, even if they say 100 SPF really doesn't make a difference, I use 100 SPF sunblock on my body just because the film is thicker, and so
Mhm.
it doesn't make the tan line as bad.
I think naman
That's yeah.
sunblock naman, I think everybody should be using sunblock. 'Di ba?
Yeah.
Kahit if you're a guy, a girl, if you're a model or a
Yeah, I
normal,
think
'di
in
ba?
general,
Whoever,
yeah.
in general, yeah.
Mhm.
What about you guys,
Meron pala akong
mga
ano,
pro?
ah,
Yeah.
Ha? Ayan, si Paco. Ano
tip.
pag pro?
Pako may tip.
Yung
Oo.
Pro tip.
sunblock, merong specific na sunblock na pangmukha. Okay? So,
Yeah.
kung pangmukha siya, gamitin mo siya pangmukha. Kasi once na pinawisan ka, tas ang gamit mong sunblock is yung 100 SPF, sobrang hapdi niya sa mata. Masakit siya.
I think
So,
Gets.
gamitin niyo yung kung magpapawis lang naman kayo. Pero syempre,
Gets.
mas magandang hindi mahapdi yung mata, yung parang nai-irritate yung mata mo. Tapos pag natuyo,
Ah,
mas hindi siya. So, mas maganda na meron kang specific sunblock na pangmukha.
gets.
that's a
So,
good one.
so yan, for the female, ano pa, meron ba kayong, ikaw coach, ano pang
Ako,
tips mo dyan for
honestly,
skincare?
nung back then college, walang sunblock. But as I work, definitely hindi ka I still have the tan lines, pero because definitely yung back then fiance ko, of course my wife now. Siya yung talagang nagpo-push sa akin na mag-sunblock, even my parents back then. But definitely yes, +1 sa sunblock. Even back then tayo noon, we were still riding for active health. They provide sunblock for us, so very very important. Right.
Yan. So guys, doesn't matter if you're riding a slow ride, a fast ride, if you're training or just having fun, importante mag-sunblock, guys. 'Di ba? I think everyone should start using sunblock. And what Paco said, may sunblock pang face, may sunblock pang
Yes.
rest of the body. For the
And
action.
reapply.
Sorry. Uh,
Reapply.
Right. That's what if you have space in your back pocket or whatever storage you have when you're riding, you better like it's best if you bring pang reapply talaga. Kasi na, it's supposed to work like that. So if you can reapply, tama.
ayan. At least meron kayo for the girls, may beauty tips na kayo from Monica. For the guys na din. Mon, pag ride, anong in-order mo sa coffee shop?
Cappuccino. Yuck. Hindi, wala. Coffee lang. But definitely coffee. You know how some people would, miss out on things. Ako, kahit ano, I don't care. Basta may coffee ako. I cannot. I need my coffee in the morning.
Do you eat?
I want them.
How much do you eat?
I don't eat too heavy kasi nakakaantok yon. But what the thing that I love about cycling is that if I'm on the bike, I don't care. I can eat whatever I want. So whatever I feel like, I will order it. Because I have a good excuse.
Nakakainis nga to si Monica eh. Pag si Nicole, yung wife ko, kilala ni Monica, magkaka-gym kami. Sabi ko, si Monica yung, I think it was for Rafa or it was a ride. Sabi ko, ang ganda nung kit na suot ni Monica. Parang, bakit pag siya, ang ganda tingnan? pag si Monica nakasuot, ang ganda tingnan. Pag kami na nakasuot, parang hindi na ganun yung kasi everyday siya nagbabike, guys. Kaya kailangan everyday din kayo mag-ride para maganda yung fit nung kit sa inyo. So yun, ayan, balik natin sa tanong kanina. First bike. What was your first bike?
It was an aluminum bike. Just a specialized aluminum bike with, I forgot what wheels.
Ale ba to?
Ale, yes, an Ale.
Ale,
and it was like a limited edition Tour de France thing that went on sale, so I only bought it half the price. And this was before ambassadorships or whatever. And local Malaysian wheels. It was carbon actually, but it was from a local Malaysian supplier, and I got it also for half the price. So it was such a cheap bike, but it was that one bike where I got addicted to cycling, where I was able to climb Doi Intanon with it. And I came back with a more expensive bike but not in the same shape. Because I think I was traveling more and I wasn't able to ride as much, and I wasn't able to complete Doi Intanon. So guys, doesn't matter how expensive your bike is, it's really your
Yon.
legs. It's really the legs.
Tsaka again, pro tip, di ba? Your bike doesn't have to be expensive.
Unless
Look
you're
for,
pro. Unless you're pro, it makes a huge difference maybe. But like for us, yes, of course at the end of the day it does make a difference. But unahin ang legs. Kasi it's really the legs and your strength of your legs that
di
matters
ba?
number one. And then you
Ayan.
can upgrade slowly. But yeah.
Ayan, pro tip din yan. If you can find stuff on sale, di ba? If you're a beginner, if you're looking for your first bike, look for yung mga naka-sale na parts, naka-sale na ano.
Yeah,
Di ba?
for
Malaking bagay
sure.
din yun. And
And I
then,
Yeah.
think it's a process. I think it's a
oo,
process na you start off with that para yun yung you're starting to learn eh. So may malalaspag ka, may masisira ka. So hindi nakakapanghinayang na yung sisirain mo, yung lalaspagin mo is yung sobrang mahal agad. So kahit paano you learn how to clean it or whatever, take care of it. And then as you get experience, you can move on to the more expensive, faster, better parts.
Yeah, tsaka baka hindi mo din ma-realize how it actually, you won't be able to appreciate it maybe, what upgrade feels like, because kung straight ka sa mamahalan na parts, you don't really know what the difference was from an ordinary one. So really,
true.
the best is really to really enjoy the experience of upgrading too, I guess. You should really start small muna.
So right now, what bike are you using na?
The Roubaix pa din. I think, did you see me ride the Roubaix dyan sa Philippines?
Oo naman.
Or no? Yeah, the Roubaix, the black Roubaix.
Hindi, dala mo dito, Ale. Yung galing
No,
sa,
Roubaix. Roubaix yung nire-ride ko ngayon.
so, ayan, may photo tayo ng bike ni Mon.
Yeah.
Naka-
Yes,
Ayan.
because I like riding all kinds of terrain. It really allows me for adventure. And if your legs are strong enough, doesn't matter if you're riding beside somebody who's in a tarmac, you can still join like faster rides if you train good enough. It really doesn't matter. It's a fast bike pa din. Because that's what people always think, oh, it's for gravel. Ang daming, what do you call, there's suspension, so baka it's slower. No, it's not. It's your legs. Really.
Wait, can we, Deb,
Yeah.
can we see Monica's bike again? Nandiyan ba ba?
Yeah.
Mon, so anong size ng bike for someone who's 5'10", anong size ng bike mo?
54.
So
My
size
bike's
50,
a 54.
diba? Tapos kita niyo naman, size 54, tapos dinadaan mo yan sa lahat, ano? Sa
Yeah,
gravel,
that's the
sa
day.
road.
Yeah, I brought it through everything. Yeah, I really love the Roubaix because I can just no surprises will ruin your ride. I can ride through anything talaga.
O, diba? Sabi sa'yo guys, ang ganda tingnan ng kit pag suot ni Mon eh. Parang, hindi, kasi syempre, ako pag nakakita ko, syempre, kita mo lahat ng taba-taba ako no? Syempre, pag sa inyo, di ba? Visually, legit eh. Mukhang malakas.
Mukhang
Naka-intimate.
mabilis.
Di ba mga mabilis, di ba? Pag
As long
payat.
as I look fast, it's good enough for me.
Yeah, which is
As long as you look fast. Ano
Yeah.
ba yung, so anong plans mo next? Anong may dream ride ka ba after August when we're
Yes.
allowed to travel? What's your next ride that you have planned?
I really actually nakaplan na dapat this September. I have a group trip with my Malaysian friends to France. We wanted to
Sarap.
ride the French Alps. It was like, it's really my dream since I began riding, syempre. And I really wanted to ride the Stelvio one day, even if it took how many hours for me to ride that. I really wanted to, and September was supposed to be the time of doing it, but because of the pandemic, siguro next year na lang ulit. Tsaka I didn't really get to train properly for that anyway, kahit na matuloy this year. So thank God, I guess, for that reason. But coach, baka I need your help.
Ayan.
With a good training
Sige,
regimen.
just let me know. Let's
Si Coach-
let's plan it
I
out.
need to
ever.
survive that. Yeah, I wanna survive.
Si Coach
and
bahala
at least
sa'yo dyan.
Oo. Para ma-enjoy ko naman, di puro suffering, di ba? Yeah.
Ano-
Tara, let's go.
Ano man, any final tips for ano? Kasi yan, bilis, 9 o'clock na.
Oo,
Any
siya, ang dami
final
ko nasabi. Ang daldal
ano
ko.
ba? Siyempre, okay lang yan,
Ay,
no?
naku.
Then,
Any tips?
any tips for everyone who's all the beginners, the ones who want to get into cycling, group rides? Meron ka pa bang final tips for everyone?
I really say that it's always going to be intimidating. Even up till now, there are group rides that really scare me. Na kinakabahan ako before starting. But the trick is to always just show up. Even if you're scared, okay, you're scared, just show up. Kasi at the end of the day, you never regret a ride that you will eventually complete as long as you show up. Yeah,
Nice.
that's
Yan, guys. Well said. Show up.
Mhm.
Okay, pag kung takot kayo, kung na-intimidate kayo ng ride, at least try, di ba?
yeah. At
Subukan
least
nyo
show
lang.
up. You won't. Yeah, you won't. There's always gonna be a friend that you will meet who know. Basta you need to know. You need to tell the group, "Hello, I'm Monica. I'm existing in this ride." Alam mo yun, just to make sure that they know that of your existence at the back if ever ma-drop ka. But at the end of the day, you will finish the ride one way or another, and you will not regret it. Yeah.
Nice. Ayun, so guys, it's been an hour. Thank you for joining us. Masaya ba?
Ang dami ko nasabi.
Ano ba? Okay lang, no? Saya nga eh.
Okay,
Dami nga
yes.
namin natutunan sa'yo eh.
Ay,
Oo, di ba? Ayan,
thank you
before
for
we go,
having me.
thank you for waking up and joining us. Di ba? And before we go, meron ba kayong anyone you want to thank? Start with Coach.
Of course, thank you
Sponsors.
for karamihan ng mga students ko and karamihan ng friends natin are watching, supporting us. Thank you guys for sharing and tuning in. And of course, my relatives, family back there in the Philippines. Thank you guys. And thank you, Monica, for being our guest today.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Paco, anyone? Any?
Yes, of course, syempre, thank you kay Monica na kasama natin siya dito. Sabi nga ni Carmela last week, kahit anong mangyari, surround yourself with positive people, and I think we are headed in the right direction, of course, with every guest that we have here. And syempre, kita-kits sa ride parate. Stay safe.
Ayan. Mon? Anyone you want to thank?
Well,
Your sponsors?
I want to commend you guys for creating this cool thing you have here. Kasi I can see like before you even invited me here, people are listening to this while they're on Zwift, and it reaches the whole world. So it's pretty cool what you guys have here for the Pinoys out there who are into cycling. It really contributes to our industry, which is I'm so happy for this. And then I just want to say hi to my friends who are tuned in, actually probably done drifting right now. Si Kezar, if you're still there, Aris, and then I saw Rafi and Coach Al, who are our friends there in the Philippines that I usually ride with when I'm back. I just want to say hi to all of you. Hope I could ride with all of you again soon.
All right. Thank you so much for being our guest tonight. Thank you.
Yay, thank you.
Shout out na ito. May nagpahabol na shout out, Chino Roque. Hello, sir.
Oh,
These are
hi,
still on.
Gina.
Hi, Chino. And before we leave, thank you to Specialized Philippines, Nike Philippines, Tumi, and Rudy Project. Thanks, guys. This has
Thank
been Coffee
you.
Ride, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, Mon.